Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a case that honestly sounds like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. But I promise you, every single detail we're about to cover, it's entirely real. We're looking at the 1995 Berlin Zehlendorf Bank Heist. If you're fascinated by, meticulous planning, shocking twists, and the sheer audacity of human endeavor, even when it's channeled into crime, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down the timeline, the unbelievable logistics, and the lasting human impact of an event that literally left an entire nation and its top law enforcement completely stunned. So, let's get into it. But before we start talking about masterminds or daring escapes, we really need to ground ourselves in the immediate human reality of that day. 16. That is the number of terrified hostages who were suddenly and violently thrust into an absolute nightmare. Just imagine being a regular customer or maybe a bank employee, just going about your normal daily routine, right? And then suddenly, you're forced to lie face down on the freezing cold marble floor of a bank. 16 ordinary people, trapped and waiting, with absolutely no idea if they were going to make it out alive. And the reason they were stuck on that floor? Well, that brings us to this absolutely staggering figure, 17 million. You see, the criminals didn't just want to, clean out the cash drawers. They issued a massive ransom demand, 17 million D-Mark. This immediately escalated the situation from a local emergency to a high-stakes, multi-million currency standoff. The sheer size of this demand set a super tense, desperate atmosphere right from the very first moments of the crisis. But this number here, 200, this is the detail that completely rewrites the whole shebang. Because while the police were so focused on the hostages and that 17 million ransom up above ground, they were completely oblivious to the mind-blowing scale of what had been constructed right beneath their feet. A 200-meter underground tunnel. Just try to wrap your head around that for a second. 200 meters of secret infrastructure, literally snaking beneath the streets of Berlin, serving as the ultimate escape route. Okay, part 1, the robbery begins, June 27th, 1995. Let's walk through how this actually unfolded. The date is June 27th, 1995. The location is the Commerzbank branch in Berlin Zehlendorf. Totally without warning, 4 masked men storm the building. They act super fast, taking those 16 individuals we talked about earlier as hostages. The police get called, perimeters are set up, and what kicks off is an agonizing 17-hour standoff. For a whole day and deep into the night, authorities are locked in a high-stress waiting game with these 4 masked guys holding down the bank. And this really perfectly highlights the massive disconnect between what the authorities thought was happening and what was actually happening. Initially, the police assumed they were dealing with your standard run-of-the-mill bank robbery, like maybe a smash and grab gone wrong, where the criminals got trapped and panicked, taking hostages out of pure desperation. But the truth? The truth was that this takeover was the culmination of 18 months of meticulous, obsessive planning. The authorities were playing checkers, right? Believing they were dealing with cornered, reactionary criminals. But the perpetrators were playing chess. They had been setting this board for a year and a half. Moving on to part 2, 17 hours of fear, the standoff. So for 17 hours, the hostages remained trapped, their lives totally hanging in the balance, enduring unimaginable fear on that cold floor. Outside, law enforcement is desperately trying to negotiate, hoping to resolve the whole thing without bloodshed, all while juggling that massive 17 million D-Mark demand. You can literally feel the tension. Finally, after 17 agonizing hours, the decision is made. The SEK, which is Germany's heavily armed special task force, they make the call to breach. They storm the bank building, fully prepared for a violent shootout with the 4 masked men. But when the tactical teams flood the building, secure the hostages, and finally push their way into the vault, they aren't met with armed resistance. Instead, they're hit with one baffling question. Where on earth are the perpetrators? The bank was heavily surrounded. Every single exit was covered, but the 4 masked men were just gone, like they simply evaporated into thin air. Part 3, Escape into Darkness, the Vanishing Act. Picture this. You've got heavily armed officers, adrenaline absolutely pumping, sweeping the vault. But instead of criminals, they find a mysterious, raw hole cut directly into the floor. And when they look down into it, there is nothing but pitch blackness. This wasn't just an escape route, guys. This was practically an illusionist disappearing act. While the police spent 17 hours negotiating and getting ready to storm the front doors, the robbers had casually slipped away into the darkness beneath the earth. Which brings us to part 4, 18 months under Berlin, the master plan. breaking down this monumental effort really reveals the true genius and, frankly, the madness of the whole operation. Step 1. They were digging in absolute secret beneath the busy, noisy city of Berlin for 18 months. Just think about the logistics there. The noise, hiding the displaced dirt, keeping a whole crew totally silent for a year and a half. Step 2. They constructed a tunnel stretching a massive 200 meters long to perfectly intercept with the bank's vault from below. And Step 3, securing the prize. The ultimate payout they dug for all that time amounted to a massive $16 million. They literally bypassed all the modern security, the thick walls, the alarms, just by coming up from underneath. And finally, Part 5, Betrayal and Unanswered Questions, the Aftermath. The investigations that followed dove so deep into this mystery, and they gave us some truly incredible perspectives. We get insights directly from the SCK commander who ordered the breach, only to find an empty vault. We also get the details from the chief investigator of Sokokoba. That was the special commission tasked with actually unraveling this 200-meter underground puzzle. But crucially, we can't forget the victims. This story really highlights the lasting psychological trauma of those hostages. They spent 17 hours on that floor, completely unaware they were just props in a massive theatrical distraction. And then there's the ultimate twist of the knife. Someone talked. Yep, despite 18 months of absolutely flawless underground discipline, they were ultimately betrayed. The human element, the very thing that allowed them to dig the tunnel in the first place, was exactly what caused their undoing. Which leaves us with this final, truly provocative question to think about. How do you actually pull this off? Seriously, how do you dig a 200-meter tunnel beneath a major European capital for 18 straight months, moving literal tons of earth without a single person noticing until 4 masked men just vanish into it? It forces us to realize that sometimes the most incredible mysteries aren't happening far away, but literally right beneath our feet. Well, I hope this explainer gave you a really clear, structured look at this wild event. Thanks so much for joining me, and hey, keep questioning what's going on beneath the surface.